This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Welcome to Covered in Pet Hair, a boozy show for pet lovers on Pet Life Radio. I'm your host, Isabel Alvarez-Arata, and today I have the pleasure of having a drink and a chat with a holistic cat therapist. I'll tell you all about her and what that even means as soon as we come back from these messages from our sponsors.
Take a bite out of your competition. Advertise your business with an ad in Pet Life Radio podcasts and radio shows. There is no other pet-related media that is as large and reaches more pet parents and pet lovers than Pet Life Radio. With over 7 million monthly listeners, Pet Life Radio podcasts are available on all major podcast platforms, and our live radio stream goes out to over 250 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, Odyssey, TuneIn, Stitcher, and other streaming apps. For more information on how you can advertise on the #1 pet podcast and radio network, visit PetLifeRadio.com/advertise today.
Let's talk pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back to Covered in Pet Hair. I'm your host, Isabel Alvarez-Arata, and today I have the pleasure of having a drink and a chat with a pet parent, a holistic cat therapist. She's a cat coach and behaviorist, a cat communicator, and a Reiki master. She's co-author of the book, The Aromatic Cat. She's an intuitive, a foodie, and a coffee lover. She loves to cuddle her cats while she's watching Marvel films. She was born and raised in Plymouth, which is in Southwest England. She's wife to Rob, cat ma to Leo and Max, and she's the founder of Naturally Cats. Her name is Julianne Thorne. Welcome, Julianne. It's so great to have you on the show.
Thank you. I am so thrilled to be here, Isabel, and to connect with all your community. It's going to be great fun.
I agree. It's going to be wonderful. And I have so many questions for you because I have so many questions about herbs and cats because most of us are told they're a no-no. So before we get into all that, I want to introduce our drinking game today. Anybody participating at home, when you hear this word,
The secret word is garden.
make sure you take a drink of whatever it is you're enjoying, but please be sure you're over 21 in the US. What is the drinking age in the UK?
18.
18 in the UK and of age wherever it is you're joining us from. Please never drink and drive and always drink responsibly. And even if you're having tea, you can always play along. So what are you having tonight, Julianne?
I've got a glass of Pinot Grigio.
Ooh, I'm a Pinot Grigio girl too. It just pairs well with everything. It's refreshing.
Mm-hmm.
I am actually having something that I've never had before. My husband, like I was telling you, is home today. He's teleworking so that I could do this interview with you. And the kids are on spring break. So that's why he's home. But he made time to make me a big city cat, which is kind of a variation on a Manhattan. And somehow there is gin in here, sweet vermouth, and bitters. And it's actually very strong for my time of the day. But cheers to you. I'm so excited to have you on the show.
Cheers. Cheers. Thank you for having me. That sounds like a great drink.
It's actually really nice. It's surprising because I don't usually like gin with anything but tonic, but this is delicious.
You did a good job. Husband
Yes,
did well.
good job, husband. Good job. All right. So the first game I want to play with you is actually named after your book, The Aromatic Cat. I always introduce the show with a game because it gets us started, warmed up for our conversation. Are you ready to play The Aromatic Cat?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. Wonderful. First question. Who was your co-author and how did you all meet?
Co-author was Nyana Morag, and we met because I reached out to her. I read her first book and I asked if she would do a Facebook Live with me, and she did. And then we got in touch a few weeks later and she asked me to co-author the book with her. Fabulous.
How amazing. That is so cool. Guys, every time you get a hunch to reach out to a like-minded person, do it, because then these amazing partnerships can come from that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was amazing. It was universally defined. It was great. Really good.
I love that. That is awesome. So who is your book written for specifically?
It's written for cat guardians, pet parents, people that think that essential oils are bad for cats. So we basically wrote it so that we would bust those myths. We would help people understand how they could use essential oils safely, and herbs and hydrosols, all botanical remedies safely with their cats at home by themselves. You can do courses and learning, but actually sometimes you just want to give it a go. And that's exactly what the book was for people that want to support their cats and try botanical remedies. Everything you need to know is in the book.
Perfect. So you kind of already answered this question, but just so that I'm very specific, what exactly falls under the word aromatics?
Okay, so in the book, we covered essential oils, dried herbs, hydrosols, and a few powders, mineral powders. So like clay, spirulina, a couple of powders. So those are what we call remedies. Those are what we call aromatics. That's our definition of it. So we tried to cover as many things as we could.
Awesome. Perfect. How do cats feel about these aromatics?
Oh my goodness, Isabel, they love them. And the transformation that I've seen when I'm working with cats is just phenomenal. It's amazing. It really is.
One of the things that I learned from some of the interviews you've done and some of the reading I did on your website and your Instagram is something called self-selecting. Can you tell me what that means?
Yeah, so self-selection is basically where animals can pick and choose the remedies that they need. They can go to herbs and plants and flowers or muds or clays, and they know what to do with their body and how to do it. So for example, like parrots, they will get a certain type of dust, like a certain type of clay, put it underneath their wings to get rid of mites. So with cats, if they have access to it, they will pick and choose which remedies to work with. So because we've domesticated our cats and brought them inside, that's why we wrote the book, to help people bring these remedies and things into the home. Because if your cat was able to go outside, they would brush past a rose bush and they would inhale the scent molecules of the rose, and it would calm their limbic system, their nervous system. But because cats, a lot of them are indoor or they don't have access to things outside, they can't do that. So it's basically an animal's innate mechanism to know what it needs to heal. That's what self-selection is.
I love that. That speaks to me so much. There's a consent aspect of that, right? Like where they are choosing to take this in. It's also them listening to their own body. Who knows their body better than the person or cat or dog? I love that so much. So in what ways, other than the self-selecting, which you described as placing something in front of them so they can choose, what is placed in front of them? In what ways are these aromatics displayed or offered or prepared?
Great question. So that really is about, what does your cat need? So I always start with dried herbs because they, in terms of concentration and strength, they are the softest, the gentlest, their energy is really light. So in terms of concentration, you've got dried herbs at one end of the scale and essential oils at the other, because they are heavily concentrated. So for me, I use dried herbs to start with, and I put down a towel or a blanket in a lovely quiet space in the home and put a good pinch of a dried herb. So for example, like we all know most cats like catnip. So let's use that as an example, but you can use so many others. You put a really good pinch in one corner and then, a couple in the others, and you let the cat do what they need to. They may rub and roll around, they may lick at it, they may just sit quietly. That's how you use the herbs. For the hydrosols, it's again generally about putting it in a saucer and you offer it. So the cat may sniff it, they may lick it, they may just be near it. It really depends what they need, how chronic their issues are, what kind of emotional state they're in. Or if it's essential oils, there's two ways that I would use it. So one is with the lid on. So you've got the bottle in your hand and you offer it to the cat. So if my microphone was the cat, it's like, a hand width or two away. And the other way is that you put one single drop of essential oil onto a piece of fabric and put it on the floor. Because then you can, again, let your cat choose whether it needs to sit 1 meter, 2 meters away from it, whether they need to sit on it, whether they need to inhale it, whether they need to lick the piece of fabric. They will do whatever they need to if you let them. So you're absolutely right. The point you made before, self-selection and using remedies is all about giving the cat a choice. And when you do that, you give them a voice. So you'll hear me say giving cats a voice is my mission. And I know it's probably one of your questions, but I can't help it. I am so passionate about helping people to see that cats can choose and cats can show you if you just give them the opportunity to do so. Bit of a tangent there.
I love that so much. I actually got chills when you said giving cats a choice is giving cats a voice. And I believe that with all of our companion animals. I believe that when we include them in the training, nutrition, decisions that we're making, they thrive. When it's just
Absolutely.
us imposing, it's almost like a battle between us and whatever their will is, their natural will, right? So tell me, I did some Googling on you and I saw that you made the news a lot a couple years ago for leaving your full-time job to become a full-time cat therapist. So tell me, how did that transition happen?
Oh my God, I was so scared. I was so nervous. I was in the corporate world for years, absolutely years. My current job for 12 years. And my soul, my spirit was trying to tell me that there was more, that I was meant for more. So I started to get physical discomfort. And after my third period of long-term sick, I had to listen to my body. And the fear of staying in this job and being uncomfortable and not enjoying it was more than leaving. So I decided to jump off the cliff, not literally, obviously, people, metaphorically, and take the plunge and quit the job and throw everything I had at Naturally Cats. And it was about 4 weeks after I left my corporate job that my co-author Nyana got in touch and asked me to write the book with her. So if ever there's a sign from the universe, or if ever you're doubting yourself, do it, people. Have faith and know that the universe will provide for you, because that's what happened. No word of a lie. Yeah.
So what exactly were you doing in the corporate world? Just curious.
Yeah, so I worked for what we would call a company that looks after land. So we deal with like house deeds and register, finance on the home and things like that. And I was in a project space within that kind of government department.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That is a very big
very
change.
Different.
Sure. Yes, absolutely. So how long have you been working with aromatics, herbs, holistic approaches?
Probably about 8 years, as in being fully trained in it. But with my own cats, it's been as long as I've been a cat mum, because, my previous cat, my baby girl Pickle, she inspired me to create Naturally Cats, because we weren't getting the approach, the care that I wanted. It was one treatment, one symptom in this space, and one treatment, one symptom in this space. So she led me to train in all the different modalities that I'm trained in now. So, I think it's always been a part of me to look at a bigger picture, to look for more. I'm always looking for like self-improvement. I'm always reading self-improvement books and, always learning more. So it's always been there. But to put a number on it in terms of helping other people with their cats, I'd say about 8 years.
Oh my goodness. So what inspired you to focus on it looks like you focus on more so like the herbals, these kinds of things versus maybe behavior or Reiki. So what inspired you to focus on that? Do you think there's just a big need for it?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And I have to say, like, the skills that I share with people in my community, it really kind of varies. It's like waves. So when I left my corporate job, I called myself a behaviorist. I'm a qualified behaviorist, cat behaviorist. And that's what I was focusing on. But as my self-belief, I think, to be honest, has evolved, I've been able to speak more openly about my capacity to connect with the cats and use the other modalities. So when I left my job, I decided to set up an online shop for the dried herbs, because when I trained with my tutor, however many years ago, in remedies, when I first saw a cat on a herb garden, so that's the dried herbs on the blanket or the towel, my jaw just hit the floor. I don't know, you have those moments where you're just like, what on earth? Oh my goodness, your world is just rocked. And to see a cat using the herbs and how relaxed and how healed they were, I wanted to make more people aware, to say to people, did you know that your cat can do this? Did you know that if you just put down some dried chamomile and some dried rosebuds and some, catnip and valerian, your cat will be so happy? There was like something in my being to say, you've got to share this wider, you've got to tell more people. So yeah, that's why I've kind of focused on herbs, because it's so simple and it's so effective. Literally anyone can do it.
That is so cool. I need to take a break right now, but when we come back, I'm going to ask you all the reasons pet parents contact you to help them and how the herbs do that. So don't go anywhere, friends. We will be right back with Julianne and all these Naturally Cat remedies as soon as we come back from these messages from our sponsors.
My Polly, here's your dinner. Zeus, that's not your food.
Don't let that happen to your precious cat. Elevate your cat's eating experience with the Cat Tree Tray. The Cat Tree Tray keeps your cat's food off the floor and conveniently located on the cat tree. It's the perfect way to eat. It's a beautiful wrought iron tray that easily attaches to your cat tree and keeps dogs and other critters out of your cat's dish. A must for multi-pet households. There's a 6-inch tray for large bowls and a 4-inch tray for smaller bowls. Purchase your Cat Tree Tray today. Go right now to cattreetray.com. That's cattreetray.com. cattreetray.com.
Let's talk pets
Let's talk pets
on Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back to Covered in Pet Hair. I'm your host, Isabel Alvarez-Arata, and today I'm speaking to Julie Ann Thorne, who is the founder of Naturally Cats. And she is the guru of opening up your cat's lives to a garden full of herbs that will help them thrive in ways you never imagined. So now we're going to play a game, Julianne, and we're going to play a game called Cat Therapy, because we all need therapy. Let's be honest. We all need something from the earth to help us calm down, soothe ourselves, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Cats are no exception, right?
Oh, yes.
All right. So I'm going to give you a list of behaviors that cats may display, and you're going to tell me how you would approach it if I were a pet parent bringing this situation to you. Are you ready to play?
Cool. Let's do it. Yeah, definitely.
All right. So first one is very common, and it actually leads to a procedure that I detest that should be outlawed in all of the world. A cat is scratching inappropriately.
That procedure you mentioned, I agree with you, completely should be banned and outlawed. It is barbaric. So if the cat is scratching inappropriately. So my head is just like firing like 20 million thoughts right now. Okay. So
I'm sure that none of these are that simple that you could just be like this herb, but let's try to see, I guess, your top approaches.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you for helping me narrow it down.
Yes, because I'm sure this is all very complex.
Yeah. So my first thought would be behavior work, first of all, and then remedies. So behavior work is you need to redirect it to a more appropriate place. So, if it's on the sofa, which is where a lot of cats will scratch, let's look at that. And cats will always scratch. That's what they do. They need to scent mark their territory, and they've got scent markers on their pads, on their feet. So get them to, direct the behavior to a scratching post. People don't know this, but if you rub your hands up and down a new scratching post and you put your scent on it, because our hands have got sweat glands, we've got our own scent. If you 3 or 4 times a day stroke this new cat post, the cat will eventually come over and start to scratch it because it wants to mix its scent with your scent. Yeah, absolute fact. So the more you scent mark the new scratching post, the more the cat will come over and want to do it. And when it does it, lots and lots of positive reinforcement, treats, verbal praise, cuddles, whatever works for your cat. That would be step number 1.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. I've never heard that before. I love that approach. All right.
Yeah.
A cat is fighting with his or her housemates, other cats. Where do you go from there?
So my first thought would be herbs for this one. Yeah, definitely. So I would be looking at calming, relaxing herbs. So generally, if there's aggression in the home, there's usually an overstep of boundaries. There's not enough territory or there's not enough resources. But before you look at any of that, you need to get the cat's anxiety down, because their aggression and their reactivity is because they are feeling stressed. So my go-to would be valerian. It smells like sweaty feet, but it is my top herb. It is selected by cats so much more than catnip. So it would be valerian root in one corner, chamomile in the other. Just like humans have chamomile tea, it's calming for our nervous system. Exactly the same for cats. Calendula, or sometimes called marigold, that helps to boost self-confidence. So if your cat is feeling timid in its reactive aggression, it will help to soothe them and calm them down. And the other would be dried hops. So the same thing that's made with beer, obviously, try to get organic for all of these where possible, so they're not treated and don't have any chemicals on them. But hops helps to reduce testosterone. So even if you've got a fixed cat, male or female, if you put hops, it has a calming effect on the hormonal system of the cat. So those would be my four herbs for aggression. Yeah.
Wow, I must be part cat because in my house, we definitely use valerian, we definitely use chamomile, and we definitely use calendula for everybody. And of course, we drink beer. So we are part cat here for sure.
Love it.
We respond well to all those remedies. All right,
Excellent.
Next one is actually pretty common and kind of scary. The cat is dying to escape, trying to get out of the house by any means possible.
Very, like you said, very, very common. So I would probably do a mixture of herbs and behavior. So if a cat is trying to get out, it could potentially be because they're bored. So the more enrichment you can bring into the home, the better. High levels, hidey spaces, puzzle feeders, electric toys if you're at work, anything you can do to help the cat find its own environment stimulating. That would be something that could help. And then secondly would be probably angelica root as a herb because it's very, and rosebuds. Both of them are very nurturing. So again, if the cat's trying to get outside, it wants more. It's got a drive to have more stimulation or it needs more. So if you offer the nurturing herbs, it's going to help kind of give it a hug, calm it down, give it love, and actually bringing that love into its heart space, into its environment, I reckon would help.
That's so cool. Cats want to be fulfilled just like we do, don't they?
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I believe that for sure. So cats being finicky about their food, how would you approach that?
You got to take it slow. Cats are, as we call it, pernickety with their food. But actually, do you know what? It's part to do with self-selection. So part of it is because they're looking at it or sniffing the food. It might be, slightly, it might not be fresh. So if bacteria start to grow, it can smell it and it won't want to eat it. It could be because they need variation. So they need other minerals and vitamins from other brands, other flavors, other proteins. So it's not as straightforward as just, leaving it down until the cat eats it, because cats won't eat it. Their innate mechanism to put the best into their body will override their hunger. So the best thing I would suggest would be to have patience and take a deep breath. It would be for the human, this one, it would be just take a moment to think, to let go of your frustration. I've been there, like literally the last 24 hours with my new kitten. Take a deep breath and think, right, okay, let's let go of my need to make him eat, my need to eat this flavor, and let's take a step back. So that would be my advice. That would be take a step back and just try one thing at a time. Try not to put too much pressure on yourself as a cat mum or a cat dad to do the right thing. And at the end of the day, whatever food you can get in them, that's what's important. That really, really is the key. That is what is important. So just take a step back, take a deep breath, and see where you can go from there.
I love that. I love relating that back to the self-selection process. Like, we definitely need to listen to what our cats are telling us. They know their bodies best.
Yes.
All right. The cat is not using their litter boxes.
Very, very complicated issue.
Yeah. Gross, frustrating, complicated.
So again, it kind of, this is brilliant because you've brought all of the answers to the last few into one. It would be, take a deep breath, and again, get out the house, right? So when this is happening, our frustration and anger and our emotions will impact the issue and make it worse. So as humans, we've got to take a step back and come to it from a place of compassion and think, okay, my cat is trying to tell me something. I might not know what it is. I might not understand. My cat is trying to tell me something. So come at it from that perspective rather than, for goodness sake, would you just use the litter tray? Let go of that anger and try to find compassion. And then I would say, wherever the cat is weeing, put a litter tray there if you can. If it's on the bed, not perhaps such a good idea, but if you can have it there during the day and then take it off at night, the cat obviously feels safe wherever it's urinating or doing a poo. So look at why your cat feels safe in that space. And if it's a question of they do it when a certain person comes over, put herbs down. Herbs will really, really help. Obviously, get a vet check done to make sure there's no physical issue. Always a first port of call. But in terms of, any guardians trying to help their cats, take a deep breath, put extra litter trays around in the places that the cat is going, and then put down some herbs. So any of the ones I've mentioned so far would be great. Any calming, any nurturing would all help in a very broad term.
No, that's really great. I mean, look, when somebody's desperate, those 3 starting points are salvation, really. The last one I have for you is actually, I was a professional pet sitter for a really, really, really long time. I have seen cats really stress out when their families leave and leave them behind, especially a cat that's not used to having a pet sitter, hasn't developed a relationship with their caregiver, and their parents or their families are gone. So what do you recommend when a cat is showing signs of stress, whether it be during a travel, a pet sitter situation, or just a generalized anxiety stress situation?
Yeah, our emotions in that moment make a huge difference. So again, deep breath or walk away, whatever you can do. So if you're there as a pet sitter, you can't necessarily walk away, but take a deep breath, just sit down, sit quietly, and just literally calm and ground yourself. 3 deep breaths, I find, works a dream in many, many occasions. So take a deep breath, and and try to talk lovingly to the cat. If you're in the car, for example, you know, when we're doing a vet visit, our human anxiety will go up and up and up. Again, had this recently myself. So I know that I've got to be aware of how I am and how I'm dealing with the cat and what I'm giving out to the cat. So secondly, I would say my nurturing remedy is rose, and whether you use rosebuds, again, organic if possible, so they're not treated, especially rose and lavender, because they're usually perfumed. So organic if you can, rosebuds. And if you can't get hold of the dried herb, you know, use the hydrosol, which is like a halfway house between the dried herb and the essential oil. It comes about when you distill essential oil. So it's kind of part water, part essential oil. And you could, again, put it on a tissue or a piece of fabric. You could put it underneath the blanket of the carrier, providing it's not too strong. If you're in a pet sitting situation, they could leave a herb garden down. You could spray the hydrosol on your legs as you walk into the house. I've done that with many clients, many reactive cats. As I walk in, they smell my feet first, and they smell catnip water or rose water. And you can literally see them take a breath, and they're like, okay, so you're not so much of an interloper. I will accept you in my territory. It's been amazing. I tell you, your face. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I wish you all could see my faces when I speak to these amazing people giving me all of these amazing insights. I wish I had known this when I was walking into these aggressive cat situations.
Yeah. I mean, I had a situation where when I was training with a feral mum. She had kittens. She was horrendously reactive. She wouldn't let the rescue centre go anywhere near her. They were just pushing bowls in because they couldn't get in. And we managed to squeeze a herb garden through the doors, which obviously was a bit muddled, but there were herbs there. And then the rescue worker went in 20 minutes later with frankincense water and rose water on each leg. She put her kind of leg through the gap in the door. You saw the feral mum, right? Take a massive deep breath, and she just turned around and went to clean her kittens. So the rescue worker then walked into this room, collected up all the dirty bowls, scooped the litter tray, and walked out. Up until that point, they'd not been able to get in the room. I mean, herbs and floral waters, that's what it did. Phenomenal.
That's amazing. Okay, so obviously you are amazing at what you do, a wealth of knowledge. So explain to me, when you call yourself a holistic cat therapist, what do you mean?
So I left my corporate job and called myself a behaviorist because that's what I thought people would understand. And the more I've worked with people in the last, like I said, 2 years since I left my job, but 18 months really, I realized that that's not just, that's one thing. Behavior is one tool. Mm-hmm. So for me, obviously cat, because I'm trained in everything cat, I don't have any dog experience. You can use the stuff I use with dogs, but I'm not trained to do that. So it's not safe to advise.
Right.
And holistic, because for me, there's no other way. Mm-hmm. And I've had that myself with my baby girl. We had years of to and fro the vets and to and fro specialists and things, and we just never got her well. So for me, holistic is about the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual, which people are coming more and more, raising their awareness of, which is just warms my heart. So that was the holistic part. Obviously the cat part, self-explanatory, and then the therapist is because, like you said, we all need therapy. Mm-hmm. But it's really about, when you go to therapy, you have someone help you understand, don't you? Yourself, yes. The issues that you're dealing with, what's going on in your life. And that's what I do. So I'm the therapist for the cat, but actually what I do is reconnect them to their human. I help to awaken and educate their human. And that is where the true growth and the true healing is, because when the cat mum or dad realizes that their cat is individual and, it's not doing things to annoy them, or, there are some things they can do to help, or, the messages that kind of come like with the communication part, that you see like this lightness come to the human and they see their cat differently. And that's that's what I'm about. So I might use behavior tools, I might use remedies, I might use some healing or a communication session. It doesn't matter which tool it is. It's about helping the guardian to really see the unique and sentient, sensitive being that is their cat.
Oh my gosh, it's like couples counseling for pet parents and their pets. I love it because it's so true. We bring these animals into our lives. We expect them to act a certain way. Like if we had any other relationship where we had those expectations, we would be sorely disappointed by the outcome.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Right?
And if we were saying to humans, I want you to be this way. I want you to give me cuddles. I want you to wee when I want you to wee, eat when I say you should eat. Could you imagine like another human would be like, I don't think so. Thank you very much.
That would be considered abuse from human to human. That would be considered control and abuse. And obviously we all, and I believe this from all pet parents, even the least informed are always trying to do their best, but they're misinformed. So they don't understand all of the ways that they are somewhat imposing on their pet, right? Imposing their desires and their needs on a sentient being that is not necessarily going to cave in just that easily. So
exactly.
Tell me what veterinarians think about the use of herbs and these modalities that you use in a holistic way.
Yeah. So I can't speak for vets, you know, and what frustrates me is when there's sometimes like an us and them, you know. For me, it's all about holistic. It's all about us together.
Correct.
You know, let's all work together. So what I can share is my experience. I've had a vet laugh at me. You know, I've had a vet raise eyebrows at me, roll their eyes at me. And I've also had a vet that was like, oh my God, that's fascinating. I've never heard of it. Tell me more. You know, so I've literally had, you know, kind of both ends of the spectrum. So I would like to think that more vets are, again, waking up. They are becoming aware of and potentially considering the benefits of complementary and alternative treatments. Now, not every vet is like that, you know, but then that's like humans, you know, no matter what topic you're talking about, there'll always be those that are for and those that are against.
Right.
But for me, we have an opportunity to really educate and support each other, you know. So I don't know the intricacies of the nervous system, you know, the names of all the nerves. The vet does. So let's work together. Let's work together for the benefit of our cats so that, you know, they can provide the physical information. You know, if my cat's got a broken leg, I'm going to my vet. You know, I am pro vet. I love my vet.
Right.
But if my cat's dealing with anxiety, a tablet isn't necessarily going to help. Let's look at where that anxiety is coming from. Let's look at the cause, not just treat the symptoms. So, you know, for me, I know some people will vet bash. I'm not in that camp, you know, and then I know some people who are really pro vet, and I am, you know. I think that we've all got a place and we're all trying to help, and what works for one person or one cat may or may not work for another. So let's be open-minded and have that discussion about how can you help me? How can you help my cat? Because I'm not going to be for everyone, you know, but I know that the people I have helped, you know, we've made a tremendous difference to them and their cats. And that's what really warms my heart. So I work really closely with my vet and I'm very honest. And what I would encourage anyone to find a bit of strength is to ask questions. You know, it's to really ask questions, because if your vet's closed down to things you want to explore, get a second opinion. You know, at the end of the day, we are the guardians for our cats. So we have the final say. They are ours.
Absolutely. We have to advocate for them, ask all the questions, dig a little deeper. And remember that veterinarians, a lot of the times, they have experience with the pet parent that didn't do his research or her research, gave the cat or the dog too much of this herb or essential oil. The animal had a reaction and went to the vet in dire straits. And now the veterinarian may just be resistant to any of these things because of the exceptions to the rule that they've seen, the extreme situations they've seen. So it should be a collaborative process where you say, this is where veterinarian, doctor, this is where I get my information. This is the book. Here's the book. Are you willing to read the book? Are you willing to discuss what I've been doing and who I spoke to and what has worked and my results? Because if they see that somebody that is taking the time and doing their due diligence is trying this with success, I feel like they'll be more open to learning more than somebody who's like, I washed my dog with tea tree oil.
Oh God, yeah.
Right?
You're absolutely right. And actually, like, let's, you know, say to it, let's learn together, you know, and you're right. Yes. They have a scientific, you know, a lot of them have that scientific brain. So go there with facts and information. You know, my cat did this, I did this, and this was then what happened, you know, and like you said, have those open conversations. That's the most important thing. And if you're working with a complementary or alternative practitioner, anyone worth their weight should be happy to communicate and to correspond with your vet. So, everybody should be working together for the benefit of the cat. So I've had to give notes to vets. I've had to speak to vets, and yet there are some pet parents and cat guardians who do it without speaking to their vet because they're not getting they've not got a good relationship,
Right.
And, with some complementary practices, that's exactly what it is. Complementary. It's in addition to veterinary care. It's not a replacement for it. So, like I said, there's pros and cons for all of it, but be confident in who you are as a cat mum or a cat dad. Find the strength to ask the questions, give them the information that you've got, and hope that they're open-minded or that they're willing to learn and go on the journey with you as you both help your cat.
Or find a veterinarian that's more open-minded. We're a military family. My dogs have had maybe 10 vets because we've moved so much over the years.
Yeah.
And there have always been vets that were more by the book, more scientific, more this is the vaccine schedule that I need to follow, that you have to follow. And then there were veterinarians who were like, here's a nutraceutical to support your dog's liver, right? So always there's a gamut, and you need to find any doctor, any medical provider that is in line with your priorities, as you would do with you, your kids, your pets, anyone. So tell me, how can our audience find out more about you specifically if they would love to follow you or work with you directly?
I've got a website. I'm based in the UK, but I do online consults. So I've got clients in Costa Rica and the US, and Ireland, everywhere. So you can find me at Naturally Cats, www.naturallycats.co.uk. My services are there, information about me. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram, and I post some of my webinar replays on YouTube as well. So you can find me a little bit on social media.
Awesome. Well, I just want to propose a toast to you for taking the time to chat with me. I have so enjoyed our conversation, and I wish you nothing but success in reaching all these cat parents that I'm sure will benefit immensely from your services. So cheers.
Thank you. Thank you, Isabel. It's been wonderful. And I really hope people have enjoyed the show. Thank you for having me.
I'm sure they have. If they've enjoyed it half as much as I have, they've enjoyed it plenty. I also want to propose a toast to our executive producer, Mark Winter. Thank you, Mark. And to our audience, thank you for joining me for one more show about my love of pets and sharing this love with me. Here's to a life covered in pet hair, because there's no better way to live. Cheers.
Absolutely. Cheers.
To learn more about Covered in Pet Hair, please visit coveredinpethair.com or petliferadio.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on petliferadio.com.